What's up guys, it's Widgeon TV here. Nestled between the city of Watoga and the architectural marvel that is the monorail elevator, we can find the Lucky Hole Mine. We will find out here in a second that this was an old pre-war lead mine, but now 25 years after the bombs fell, this mine now holds more than toxic heavy metals. On approach, the very first thing we see is what looks like a crucifix, but instead of a human hanging from it, we can see what looks like a mixture of vines and bones with a stag skull on top of it. We don't know this yet, but this is foreshadowing what we're going to find inside. We can move further onto the property and check out these little shacks. It looks like they've been used by several travelers as temporary shelter. In the third shack behind a makeshift grill, we can find a note. Claire, grab everything from our smuggling operation and get it to the Lucky Hole Mine pronto. The whole world's going to hell, and I'm betting we're going to need that stuff to survive. Lock it up in the usual spot. I've changed the code to 238963. Don't stop for anyone, I'll see you soon. Gavin. I wonder what they were smuggling. We better save this code just in case we need it later. Moving closer to the entrance, we can find another totem of the same vine and bone mixture we saw earlier. This is an ominous sign that some strange things are going down in this mine, but we're not about to turn back now. Let's enter. The mine opens up into a rather claustrophobic office area. Turning to our right, we immediately see a note placed next to a terminal reading, "He agrees." Your offering is acceptable to him. Well, that's good to hear. I wonder what we're offering. Now let's jump on the terminal. Strange woman. This old lady came by asking for a tour of the mine, told her no, place is dangerous, but that just made her mad, kept muttering something under her breath, had to get the Protectrons to escort her out. I'm going to make a call to the Allegheny Asylum, see if they had any escapes recently. Poor woman, hope she gets help. From the sounds of this, it sounds like this mine was still in operation when this entry was entered. And we know from my video on Fort Defiance that the Allegheny Asylum was evacuated before the Great War. Closing up, word came in to shut things down. About time, hate to see another mine close, but this one's tapped out. I was coming back from shutting down the pumps when I felt someone watching me, that old lady again. But this time, she was with a couple friends. They asked again about the mine, wanted to see the depths, wanted me to show them. God help me, I ran. Break-in. I don't know why, but I had to check on the mine one last time. Sure enough, the locks we put up have all been smashed open. Look, we don't want it. The mine, it's yours now. Just stay down there, alright? Don't bother us. We won't bother you. Deal? So it almost sounds like the person writing this is talking to a third party. It's very strange the way this is written. Maybe we'll learn more moving further into the mine. Finally moving out of this office, we can see a pair of rail tracks heading into the mine. But before we start our descent, on the far side of the tracks, up a metal staircase, we can find a holotape lying next to a sleeping bag and a shotgun, called The Chosen.
The Interloper is here. I can feel it clearly. Last night, in visions more real than the senses, it called to me, and I go to it now. Signs are all around that I am not the only one to hear the call, though where they have failed, I will not, for it summons me alone in the end. Before I go deeper, for the truth revealed changes all. By its very nature, let it be known, in this world, the Interloper has chosen Jeff Lane as the conduit of the unknowable. Together, the hidden reality becomes manifest at long last.
Jeff Lane seems to think the Interloper, or someone who doesn't belong, is here in this mine. There is no way to know for sure yet, but the way he talks about the unknowable and the hidden reality, this man is either crazy or messing with higher powers that humans cannot fully comprehend. Alright, let's move further into the mine. The first thing that we run across is a ton of mole rats. After clearing the rats, we can find another totem. Behind it, next to a pair of sleeping bags, we can find a note called His Birth. He is the one who came before, the firstborn of the wood, blood wept from his branches, and he shared with all his believers. The one who came before, is he talking about a god maybe? Another quote, blood wept from his branches and he shared with all his believers. Does that mean people were drinking this god's blood? We're going to have to move further into the mine to find out more. Further in, and past some more mole rats, we find a totem, this time with a table, holding a ceramic bowl and a note labeled "His Blood." The woods gave him life, gave him strength, but the blood gave him purpose. He gathered us. He taught us to share as he shared. So maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but it sure sounds like they were drinking each other's blood. Man, I wonder what we're going to find down at the bottom of this place. Still further down into the mine, we now come across enemies more substantial than that of mole rats. We find mole miners. Just past the garrison of mole miners, we find another larger totem, this time with a note at its feet, labeled "His Home." His believers united by blood, he told us of our new home, that we would approach the faithless and be denied 3 times, but that he would open the way. Denied 3 times. Does that mean they were trying to commit suicide 3 times? Continuing to follow the note trail, we enter a small room with a pool. Placed on a rock next to the pool, we can find another note, this time called "His Springs." His believers wept, for their new home lacked water, and their throats were dry. He gathered their tears in his branches, and spread them upon the earth. And from that came forth the springs. Before entering the next room, we need to clear some more mole miners. They're pretty easy to clear out, but watch out for the double rockets. After clearing the miners, we finally reach the altar room. Our eye is immediately drawn to the pair of crossed cultist blades latched onto the front of the altar. On a small shelf inside the altar, we can find the lucky hole key, and behind us, we can see a human-sized casket with a human skull placed on top. A pair of antlers are placed to make it look like they were worn like a crown. We also find the last note called the Priestess. Blessed you are, first priestess of the wood. Through you, we heard his voice. Through you, we gained his strength. So it sounds like this was a pretty normal cult. A single cult leader, the priestess, could talk to whatever entity they were worshipping. If you know anything about cults in the modern age, this is pretty much exactly how they all went. But I wonder what happened to the cult followers after the priestess died. Behind the casket, we can find the largest totem yet. And behind the large totem, we can find what looks like a copper mask of some sort. This mask looks shockingly familiar to a similar mask or head we found in the Dunwich Borers, which was a marble mine in Fallout 4. Could they be connected? I definitely think so. Looking up, we see a small hole in the wall, not big enough to crawl through, but we can see some sort of industrial equipment and a table, so let's go check it out. Backtracking a little, we can find a metal staircase that leads to this new area. In this room, I personally found 2 bobbleheads sitting right next to each other. We can also find a ritual mask and an end of dungeon steamer chest. Over on a chemistry table, we find an abnormal amount of buff out, and just next to the chemistry table, we find a chalkboard that says syringe plus buff out equals fun. We'll be talking about this more here in a minute. Following a pipe coming off this big machine, we can see that it is dripping into the water supply. Maybe somebody was spiking the water supply with buff out. And if the person or people writing all of the notes and setting up the altar were drinking this spiked water, that might explain all the funny business. But there is still one more path that we need to go down. Slightly backtracking again, we see a very narrow pathway. Following it concludes with a security door locked with a keypad. This must have been what the smugglers were talking about at the very beginning. Let's use their code and try to open this door. And we're in. Unfortunately, there isn't much to find in here. Some duffel bags with pre-war money and some shotgun shells is all I found. I'm not exactly sure what the smugglers were smuggling. So this might seem like it, the story of the Lucky Hole Mine. Luckily, this isn't true. Down the same narrow path that led us to the security door, we can find a very small obscured pathway that leads into another narrow side pathway. When this path terminates, we have to push through some hanging moss, and we finally lay our eyes on the Interloper. Behind the Interloper, we can see 5 of the same masks or heads we found earlier and in Fallout 4. As you can see, this creature has long tentacles that move and are covered in a green slime of some sort. When shot, it shoots out a black liquid. In front of it, we can find a deep pile of skeletons, with a pile of cups and jars laying in front of them, suggesting that all of these people came into this room and committed suicide by drinking some sort of liquid. Again, in Fallout 4, there was a similar story where a raider who lived in the Dunwich Borers walked to a secluded spot and killed himself after hearing voices in his head.
Guys don't bother me anymore. That's good. I think it's... What was that? Can't they read the signs? I think it's time I go back inside the quarry. It's been too long. No, I can't. The guys would never let me in. I could kill them all. No, that wouldn't be what it would want. It's time to lay down. Yes, of course. It's next to my bed. I will. It's loaded.
And I think we can assume that woman that we heard about on the terminal before met the same fate and is probably one of these skeletons. All of the other skeletons must be all of the other cult members that must have killed themselves after the priestess died. Bethesda has played around with Lovecraftian themes before in their games, but this is the first time that we come face to face with one of these mysterious creatures. Or it could just be a mixture of FEV and radiation causing havoc with our DNA. But I personally want to believe. Maybe one day I'll make a video where I talk about how these masks look a lot like masks in Skyrim that are worn by the dragon priests, and also they look a lot like dwarven architecture. Let me know if you want to see that video in the future. I'm a huge Skyrim fan, so I would love making those videos. Alright guys, that's all I have on the Lucky Hole Mine. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And if you've made it this far in the video, consider joining my channel's membership. You get a cool little Mothman or Flatwoods monster symbol next to your name when you comment, and it goes a long way in supporting my channel, so thank you. Also consider following me on Twitter. It's the best place for me to keep in contact with you guys. But anyway, this has been Widgeon TV. Thanks for watching, guys.
Rejoice,